Pascaline Adadevoh. On today's show, she holds
to what we used to call Saito Bethel School. And that was some transition for me at the time because my mom was unwell and my father had to take care of us and handle my mom at the same time. And he needed us to be close to home. So I had to transit from a preparatory school to Bethel Primary School, where I went through my primary school education, went through the middle school education, and then wrote my common entrance and had admission to Mauli Secondary School.
Mauli School, I attended Ola.
Nice meeting you. Nice
Did your parents influence you in any way growing up? I mean, did they influence your career?
Well, they did. My mom was at Bank of Ghana, so she always wanted me to end up at Bank of Ghana. And then somehow my godmother was also working at EcoBank, so she always tells me, Akpenny, you have to work at the bank one day. So I had that at the back of my mind when I was growing up, that I would end up in banking. As to which aspect of banking I was going to do, I wasn't sure at the time. But I had that desire that one day I will end up in banking.
So you just pursued the dream to be a banker because, I mean, that was your mother's dream anyway, and you also desired to be there.
Very interestingly, when I started growing up in secondary school, it may interest you to know that my first interest was really in broadcasting.
Wow.
I wanted to read the news because I just admired newsreaders and all that. So that was my first interest. Then in Form 3, I fell in love with accounting. So I was like, okay, I want to be an accountant. I want to be a chartered accountant because at that time, it was known that accountants made a lot of money. So between Form 3 and Form 5, I had settled in my mind that I'll be a chartered accountant working in a bank at that time. So I would say that influenced my decisions at A-levels and also influenced what I had to do at the university level.
Okay. So apart from your parents and probably your mom who was a banker too, do you have other strong influences in your life? Were there others you looked up to and wanted to be like them growing up?
Several. One thing I did was that I looked up to a lot of people who were ahead of me, especially once I was clear about my career interests. So I looked up to people who were already in that space. And that guided me in terms of what I needed to do in terms of my educational interests. Because if I want to end up in the bank, it must be informed by what I do in school. So I looked up to a number of people. So I must say that very early in my life, I surrounded myself with relevant people who are called mentors, who guided me in terms of what I needed to do.
Any names you'd want to share?
Several. There were several that I would say were at the social settings. And then, of course, I looked up to my godmother who was already at the bank. I wanted to be at the bank. My mom was also there. She had friends who were there, so I looked up to them. And I had a number of friends in my social circle that were already professionals in the banking sector that I looked up to.
I'm sure you were academically bright because accounting, you know. How many of your mates, I mean the females, continued with their accounting out there? They did,
They did. Accounting is a very interesting career if you ask me. I mean, there's maths there, there's decision making there, there's business in there.
Were you always a lover of mathematics from primary school?
Yes, okay. I love maths, I love accounting, anything calculation, I love it, and I do. That's why somehow I ended up doing my MBA in finance because I just flow more with computations and accounting things all along. Yeah.
Well, CEO of OctaneDC Limited. How did you conceive the idea to? But before then, did you have any stint with any organization? I mean, before you went into your own stuff?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is something I keep sharing with the young people who are coming up there now, that it's okay to dream to be by yourself after school. But there's an advantage of learning along with somebody. So I started my career with DataBank. And I didn't just start with DataBank. I had some other working interest before I joined DataBank. And there was a reason why I joined DataBank. When I started doing my national service, at the time, I wasn't so clear of what exactly I wanted to do in banking. Then at the time, the stock exchange has started running its stock exchange courses to license investment reps and all that. So I took the course. It ran for about a year. I wrote the exams and I passed. But then in class, I realized that the number of participants that were in the class were more of practitioners. And I was one of those who was not even in the industry. And I knew that I had to be relevant in a certain way, but I could only do that when I go back to school. So the first degree was not sufficient for me to begin a career interest in investment banking. So I took a decision that I have to go back and read my master's. But remember I said I love accounting. I was doing accounting at the A level. And I knew that I still needed to pursue a degree in accounting along the way. So I started my master's at the same time I started my profession in ACCA. So I was writing 2 exams at the same time. I was doing my master's, I was doing my ACCA, I had a relationship that was intensive, and then I was working at the same time. So it was very intensive. But what happened was that most of the things I was learning during my MBA were relevant to my ACCA. So the learning here helped me to also write the exam. So by the time I was done with my MBA, I was at level 2 of ACCA.
Wow, superwoman.
Thank you.
I'm interested in how you managed to do all.
Thank you.
Yeah, so OctaneDC, what does it mean? How did you come by that name?
It's a long story. First, it was OctaneSD. Before it translated into OctaneDC. When I started out, at a point, I wanted to branch into something that was more focused in terms of investment banking. In my career journey with DataBank, I had the opportunity to work on various portfolios, on individuals accounts, on institutional accounts, on pension funds, and on mutual funds. But I found out that I began to lean more towards managing high net worth individuals, people that we call the rich, because those were more focused portfolio management that you had to do for them. So along the way, I told myself that, no, this has to be it. And then I branched out. I moved from DataBank and I joined Oak Partners. Oak Partners was also focused on investment banking. And I reached a point where I knew that I needed more knowledge to what I want to do, and that influenced my decision to go back to school to read my doctorate. And I knew that by the time I was done with the doctorate, I needed to hold something. I didn't want to be done and still be where I was. So in my journey through my doctorate, I decided that I was going to branch out. And OctaneSD, I must say, was a dream come true. I wanted a business that had power, a business that had energy, a business that had some professionalism and speed. So it was a discussion with my husband. He is into HR and organizational development and all that. So we sat down And we thought about, okay, what name can we give the business that will project it the way I really wanted it to sound? And we said, okay, fuel, octane levels in fuel. Okay. That is power. And at the time, the business conceptions was between a friend of mine called Dorothy. So it was Suzy and Dorothy at the time. So OctaneSD. But OctaneDC, because there has been a transition. There has been a merger with Dallas Capital over the period. So this happened about a year ago. So OctaneSD then became OctaneDC. So that's the story behind it.
Okay. So how can the ordinary person gain some knowledge in investment? I mean, somebody who is planning to go into investment management.
When it comes to investment selling or investment products, what we typically tell people is that if you know what will happen tomorrow, then maybe you're in a better position to do certain things now. But we all don't know what will happen. Pascaline, you could be driving out of your home. In your street, you've never encountered a motorcycle driving suddenly behind your vehicle. But on this particular day, it happened. You didn't know it would happen. So what protections do you put in place so that when something happens to you, you are able to crawl back? So investment is really about you making a decision to put something aside. But investment journey actually starts from savings. That is where the habit begins. You begin to save, you build up, and then you move into investment. So it's a personal decision to say that, okay, I'm not sure about what will happen in the future. I need to provide for my educational needs in the future, the educational needs of my children, my family support, my parents are growing up. I need to put something aside. I need to own a car one day. I need to build a house. Those are dreams that you have aligned, but you need to begin to put some steps in so that you put some money together to build up to that. So investment is really about you making a decision that I will build something for the future.
Savings is a big deal, Doc. It's not easy, especially when you earn very little salary. You get it. Let's say you're working and you earn about 1,000 a month. You have a wife and you have about 3 kids. How do you save? It's difficult. But so how do we promote the saving culture? How do we begin to change the mindset of people towards saving?
That's a big error in our judgments, and I'll tell you why. We always think savings is after spending, but it is not. Saving is part of your expenditure. If you're into tithing, you build up the habit of paying your tithes on a regular basis, on a monthly basis. So there's that discipline in there. So when it comes to fund management, what we tell our clients is that after your tithes, if you're into tithing, the next money you take out of your salary is the portion for investment, which is typically about 10%. That is if you're starting very early. But when you're above 40, you need to really increase that percentage because you are approaching pension. So it's a discipline you must acquire and understand that savings or investment is not after spending. It is part of your expenditure. So you take that one out first, even before you decide how to spend the rest of your 1,000 cedis. And it doesn't matter how low you earn. It's a discipline. You can find yourself in debt, but at the same time, you must keep investing whilst you're even paying your debt. Because you need some backup at some point. So it's not something you do after spending. You do it before you spend.
Before you spend. Well, you are reminded to join in this conversation via WhatsApp on 0243 343573. We're also live on Facebook at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, on Twitter at GBC Ghana. We'll be announcing the phone line soon so that you can join in this conversation as well. Well, Suzy, so how is your company coming up? How easy was it, or how difficult was it, setting up the business, and how secured is our investment sector like? How is the front like? I want to know.
That's the loaded question. It's not an easy space for a female, if I may ask you. I mean, we're having a conversation before this point that it takes a lot of effort for a woman to branch out. Because a lot of things happen when we begin our journey in terms of career and professions. you build some comfort, so you are okay. You don't want to risk that. You are not sure of what the next environment will be like. And then a number of things also begin to come in. You get married, you get pregnant, you begin to have children, and all those things impact on your next level, because you have to be very mindful on when to take the decision to move on. So when it comes to women taking leadership, especially in our space, because fund management, you are putting yourself up as a steward of other people's monies, and it's a lot of responsibilities. So you have to be able to learn to manage that risk when you move out. So in our space, you don't really have a lot of female taking that. It's easier for the men to do that. So I would say that it wasn't an easy decision, but I had decided that what I wanted to do going forward was to focus on a niche that we call the high net worth, because that was where my love was.
Okay.
And I had built some credibility over the years, 14 years, 15 years, managing other people's monies. So I had some story behind me that made me easy to branch out into OctaneDC, just focusing on high net worth individuals. But now that I have merged with Dealers Capital, I am back into the retail space, and I'm doing mutual funds and pension funds. When it comes to investment, what we must begin to know and understand is that investment is risk.
Okay.
Once you take your money out of your current account or your savings account and move it into an investment account, you must know that there's some risk you must be ready to accommodate. So the focus now for us is to educate our clients on the risk in investment. And every investment has some form of risk. A number of times people say, treasury bills, there's no risk, government paper, there's no risk. But there's risk. One thing that we have learned in very recent time is what? Liquidity risk. And it's something that is not even emphasized in business school. The story is all about interest rates risk, inflation risk, and all that. But liquidity is not really talked about. But now we have a lot of examples to share with liquidity risk. So those are the things that we must understand. And even though there are challenges, I keep telling people that you can't create wealth if you don't invest. It's a simple, fundamental issue. If you want to create wealth for yourself, and for me, the agenda is beyond you, generational wealth. You must leave something behind, Pascaline. Some story must be told about you when you are no more on this earth. Okay? We talk about stories out there in the international markets. Oh, she just completed the university, and the grandmother gave her an account worth $100,000, and she's able to start a business. That is generational wealth that has been put aside for you by your grandmother. So we have to begin to see investments and wealth beyond us. And that will help us to reposition how we look at investments. Investment is not short term. You don't put your money aside for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and call it investment. No, investment is not short term. You must have medium to long term idea or objective behind investing. So there are a lot of dynamics that comes to play when you decide to invest. And I think a lot of the mistake happens because most people see the statistics and go after it and go and invest. They don't ask the necessary questions. And when the surprise comes up, it's difficult to manage.
But I think it's basically because we do not even know that these are the risks involved. Like you said, investment is risk. Now I go to an investment company and I want to save something with them. I don't think any company, if there's any, probably yours, that tell the client that, look, you're investing this amount of money, but you must know that the risk involved is this or the risks involved are these and that, so that at least, like for instance, look at the financial sector cleanup. Yeah. People are going through hell because they were not told of the risk involved, you know. So we must begin to have that conversation.
I don't think it's an issue of not being told, because as an investment rep advising clients, you're supposed to share every information about the product before the client sign off. But I tell you, it came to a time nobody was really interested in risk. They all wanted returns. How much can you give me when I give you this? How much can you give me? The question was not being asked, what are you using the money for? Because that is what should inform what you do. Because if you give a fund manager money, you need to understand what the fund manager is doing. If you give your money to microfinance, you know they are in the business of giving loans, so they will give your money out. Savings and loans, that's what they do. But as a fund manager, what does the fund manager do to take money from you and promise you a guarantee returns? So the dynamics are changing now, and I think now we are moving forward with education, and education more on risk than returns. You don't see a publication of a mutual fund that says I'm doing 19%, 17%. You are excited about it because Treasury bills is at 15%, and you take the decision to invest in the fund because it's at 18%. What you need to understand is what constitutes that portfolio for it to be returning that high at that particular time. And Pascaline, you are buying this at the time September when it's 18%. That 18% is not yours. That 18% is for the one who invested in January. Okay? So that 18% is not yours. So you are coming in at 18%. Between now and December, that fund return could reduce to about 16%. So you have made a loss. But the person who was in it from January to December still has something. So those are the dynamisms that people must understand when they are buying into investment products. Okay. And people must just avail themselves to know a bit more before they make the decision to invest.
Learn from where?
From the institution. From the institution. So if you ask me, the journey should begin with a financial planner. Okay. But it is a space we don't use. Okay. You need to speak to someone who will advise you to say, okay, I have listened to your story. I understand your investment needs. I understand your future needs because of where you are now. And these are the things I recommend for you to do. So a financial planner should be the one that will even tell you that, okay, I need you to buy mutual funds. Then go here, and go and buy the mutual fund. But that is something we don't do. We wake up, we make a decision, and we go for it.
But in this case, must the investor go looking for the planner, or the investment firms have investment planners?
What we do at the investment is financial advisory. Okay. If you come to me, I would like to buy my product, whichever way, because I also have investment product I am selling. Okay. But we also have people we call financial planners who are licensed to give investment advice. So if you really want to take a long-term position on what you want to do, and every investment journey begins with an investment objective. You don't just start because you have money. No, you don't start. You have an objective to begin to invest. And some of the objectives was what I outlined. That you have some future needs, you want to go back to school, you get married, you build that. So those are the objectives. And where there is family involved, sometimes the conversation is with the spouse because you have children coming up. And then beyond that is the determination of your risk. Because the risk you can take, somebody else cannot take. So I can take your funds, for instance, and invest on the stock market on your behalf. But someone else cannot take that. So sometimes the planner is able to tease out all those needs and is able to recommend. But because we have that gap, you come straight to the fund management companies. The investment advisors are supposed to guide you. Even when you walk in and you know that you have to buy this particular product, through the conversation, they are able to direct you that because I have listened to what you have and your needs and your risk level, I rather recommend that you do this at this time and then that one at another time.
You earlier mentioned that you can save for 3 months and then and then assume that you have done something so good. No. But so how long can you term an investment as being, you know, this long-term investment? How many years are we looking at?
Anything beyond 3 years is really short.
Anything beyond 3 years?
Sorry, anything below 3 years is short. Okay. Anything below. For the most of the funds that I manage, it's their 5 years and beyond. So you're looking at someone who is giving you funds over the next 10 years. Okay. But of course, there are variations in there. You have someone who is now beginning the investment journey. So for those, we encourage regular investment. That's what I was talking about, the tightening the percentage that you put aside. You decide that every month I want to put aside 50 cedis.
For somebody who earns, let's say, 2,000 Ghana a month?
You can do 50 cedis, you can do 100 cedis. 10% of that is 200 cedis. You can do it. You can live without 200 cedis in that month. It's just a little discipline and a decision to build up something. When it comes to fund management companies now, we are no longer in the business of giving guaranteed returns, and we stop all that. So your options are really limited. You either buy into mutual funds or you are assigned a portfolio manager, and there's a mandate to manage a portfolio on your account. And those start from 100,000 cedis now. So with 100,000 cedis, you can have a portfolio manager that is caring for you on a personal level. Okay. Of course, then we have pension products and all that we do in collaboration with the pension administrators under NPRA. So there are options and there are ways of starting. So for those who have lump sums, 100,000 and above, it must be long term, so that you give room to the fund manager to be able to be a bit creative. Because if you give me 100,000 or 200,000 cedis, I shouldn't put all that in one instrument. Okay. I should spread it among at least 5 investment products. That's what we call diversification. So that you are able to maximize your returns across a number of assets.
Talking about investment products, can you share a few thoughts on the various types of investment products and, you know?
Several. And the products you invest in actually depends on your age.
Okay.
So investment starts with a conversation. I need to know how old you are. I need to know your plans for marriage. I need to know your future needs in terms of going back to school and everything. So it's a conversation. And also the critical thing is how much you are earning and how much you can afford to put away. So those informs what you can do. What you can afford to put away depends or influences the choices of the investment. Very popular ones we have are treasury bills. Treasury bills now with 5 cedis. You can buy treasury bills through some of the banks. It's as low as that. It's at that retail level. Some time ago, you needed a minimum of 1,000 cedis to buy into treasury bills. Now with 5 cedis, you can buy treasury bills. So you can build that discipline starting from there. And then you move. We have the mutual funds. We have several mutual funds in the country. I think over 40 of them thereabouts. You can buy. And some take as low as 10 cedis per time. So there are those options. Then we have the stock markets. Once you have some appetite to invest in the stock market, and anything you have to do on the stock market must be a minimum of 5 years and above. Okay. You don't invest in the stock market today and take it out. No, you must have a long-term objective. So we have that. Then we have a bit of what we call the alternative investment. Before then, I mean, we also have the government bonds that you can buy, but those also come at some minimum investable amount. And then we also have the euro bonds that also counts with a certain amount in terms of dollars. The alternative market is also what we call the private equity, where there are institutions that just focus on identifying small businesses that need money to move on, for working capital or for CapEx or whatever you call them. So those opportunities are also there. But those are kind of restricted to what we call the sophisticated investors who understand the need and can afford to support such businesses. So the options are wide. We also have real estate, but if you are starting, the best is to invest in a real estate fund instead of a direct real estate product.
Well, so you are reminded to join in this conversation via WhatsApp on 0243 343573 0243 343573. Please, let's have your questions for Dr. Suzy Puplampu.
Thank you.
Why is it important for a woman to invest? A woman watching you out there thinking, oh wow, how should she start investing for the future? Or why is it even necessary for the woman to want to invest?
You know, women naturally, we are entrepreneur. We have that enterprising desire to do something and continue doing something. My mom was like that. She was always buying something and selling it and all kind of thing. And financial independence is something that we cannot afford not to have as women. We need it. The only thing that makes us stand out, even in marriage, is that you have some form of financial independence. So it's a critical thing for women to understand that you need to have your own money. I call it vex money. When you are vexed, you can go back to your own money. But you can't build up the vex money or can't build up that financial independence if you don't have some discipline to start. And starting means starting very early. Once you are done with during your national service, I keep telling my mentees, your national service, that is where you begin to start some form of investment. So the reason why it is important for women to invest is for you to gain financial independence so you can own some decisions about yourself whilst you are growing up.
So for those who want to start their own businesses, is there any advice you have for them? Should they just, I mean, should they have the work experience? Because you started from somewhere.
Yes.
You started working in the field before you conceived the idea to, set up your own business. Let us know. I mean, it doesn't just happen in vacuum. It takes a lot of planning. Any advice for people who are planning to set up their own businesses, women especially?
Pascaline, there's something beautiful about working with someone and learning the nuances of working. Because even if you start your own business, you have people that you have to manage. So how do you learn that? The young people that I have in my circle, I keep telling them that it's good to have a dream to start a business right after school. But what are you selling? Is it creativity or innovation? If somebody is selling, for instance, sobolo with ginger, and you think yours will be sobolo with mint, that is not innovation. That is creativity. It's not an investable enterprise. Because in 2 weeks, somebody will introduce sobolo with pineapple because the person wants to reduce the sugar level. I was talking to a young lady recently who has just finished the university. So I asked her what is her career interest, or what will she do with what she has studied in school. She said she wants to start a business. A business doing what? She said any business. I said, you don't do that. Because there is something you gain through what we call work experience or prior work experience. Even when you are an entrepreneur and somebody wants to do business with you, sometimes they ask you for your prior work experience. So there's an advantage of working before you decide to branch out. Because there are some things that we learn on the job, Pascaline, that we don't learn in the classroom. Managing people, you may have done HR, but there are nuances in there that you can only experience whilst on the job. So my advice, I keep telling them, don't rush to start. Because there are things beyond you that you don't know until it begins to happen. Because starting a business is tough. And if you want to succeed, if you want to scale up, you must start well. It shouldn't end in your boots. That is not a business. You must put a whole organization in place. And for anybody to do business with you, there must be structures. You must have a board. It should be clear. And you as a CEO must not be seen as the board chair. There must be that distinction. And there must be clear responsibility. If Suzy is not there, who else is there? That is a business. That is a structure. And it just doesn't happen like that. So you need patience to work, learn before you move out.
Well, I notice people are calling the WhatsApp line. Please don't call the WhatsApp line. We'll announce the phone line shortly, and it will be on your screen. For now, send us messages on WhatsApp. Messages on WhatsApp on 0243 343573. There's a message here. I don't know. The person said, ask Doc why she left Bethel. I don't know if it's is it church home?
No, Bethel is I said the Saito I went to.
Oh! This person might have known you way back. Oh,
okay. Better by the time I was done with classes in Form 1, I had the opportunity to write a common entrance.
Okay.
And I made it.
Oh.
So I left Better very early. So I didn't come out with a middle school certificate.
Okay.
So I left Better very early, and then I went on to Maoli Secondary School.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, there's this one from, she says she's gifty. Every year do Jane Fee from Accra. And she says, I have learnt a lot from this discussion with Dr. Suzy. She's ambitious, yet makes everything sound so... Yeah, that's true. She makes it sound so simple. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
What drove a young lady to combine MBA with ACCA? And then the second question is, or do you answer the first one? And like,
let me take the first one so I don't forget.
Okay.
Remember I said when I was in Form 3, I decided that I wanted to be an accountant.
Yeah.
I loved accounting all the way to Form 5. I mean, I was one of the people that after classes, I would gather my friends and I teach them accounting. I was so good in accounting. Yeah. But one thing happened. A-levels, I had D in accounting.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. All because there was a manufacturing question, accounting manufacturing question that I hadn't prepared for.
Well, Doc, we have some pictures rolling on the screen. Doc, which award was that? Was that your MBA?
No, that was my doctorate.
Your doctorate, yes, wow.
In wealth management with Walden University.
What, in the USA?
Yes, in the USA.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then this is your family.
This were friends of mine. I joined them. They are from Kivas, where I had my first degree.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
This one was at OctaneDC, and this is a Toastmasters engagement.
Yeah. Yeah. What about the Toastmasters?
I will tell you about Toastmasters. let me finish answering gifted questions. And Toastmasters is a whole conversation.
I hope we don't forget that one.
We'll talk about Toastmasters. Yes, we'll talk about Toastmasters.
Okay. So just rode by were pictures of Dr. Suzy Puplampu receiving her doctorate, and that was like 2017 or 2017.
That was in 2017. That was in 2017.
Very impressive.
That
very
was
impressive.
in 2017. Yeah.
Okay, so
I was telling you about my. Okay, that was at.
That was quick. So
this one was at an Empath engagement. It's an incubator for young entrepreneurs and all that. So I went to facilitate on finance. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We'll have more pictures rolling on you. Yeah, the boss lady. Oh yeah. The lady who is not scared of numbers.
Those are some of my awards, certificates, with ACCA and all that.
Okay. In the heydays, that's Maoli School.
I know, that's Maoli School. In the schools for lower says, that's Maoli School.
Okay.
And that was Form 3. I was receiving several awards during the speech and prize giving, and accounting was one of them.
Yeah.
I was in Maoli School.
Oh, that's interesting. So combining MBA with ACCA.
Yes. So what happened was that because I missed out in getting a very good grade at the upper sets for accounting, immediately I enrolled for NOVDEC.
How was that? You got a D? Seriously?
I couldn't believe it. It was okay to move on, but it won't get me admission to Legon.
At the time, could you have called for a remark?
No, I couldn't. Like that? It was why you can't call for a minute. So, but there was an opportunity to rewrite. That was one advantage that we had at our time. That if you don't make it in June, you have the opportunity to make it in November. So I wrote it in November, and I had an A. Okay. And I desperately wanted to go to Legon to read admin somehow. And then I had Kivas also a man to read Bachelor in Commerce. Somehow I wanted to do accounting, whichever way. But sadly, I didn't get them. I rather got economics and sociology in Kivas. And that sociology, I would say, is one of the best things that happened to me. Because it exposed me in a certain way. And I have some of my social skills today because I read sociology. Along the way, I learned from my mentors that, look, accounting is really a professional journey. So you need to begin the journey to getting your professional accounting. So I decided if that's the case, I will go back to read my MBA in finance. At the same time, I was at the ACCA.
Okay.
I needed to become a chartered accountant, whichever way. So that was really the
Were you married then?
I was in a relationship.
You were in a relationship.
Yes, I was in a
okay.
relationship. I wasn't married.
We'll get to your family life. You know,
I know,
to
right?
know how you combine all these things. So the second question, being a CEO of an investment firm, what keeps you awake at night?
I don't stay up. I sleep. I sleep very well because I have this regime of clearing my thoughts before I sleep.
Okay.
I have a favorite chair in my bedroom. When I sit in that chair for 2 hours, I detox my mind.
Oh, okay.
So I clear everything about the day out of my mind, and then I plan for the next day. So when I hit the bed, I just
straight
go.
Up.
I don't wake up
There's
and I'm
no
thinking,
thinking.
No, I don't.
There's another question here. Ask Doc whether she approves of group investments, that is having a group of people making contributions into one investment account, and why.
It is. It happens. We call them investment clubs. So what you have is that you have a group of people with the same investment objective to begin to pool resources together on a regular basis to achieve a certain purpose. And as fund managers, we are licensed to manage those funds on behalf of the groups. So a group can decide that they want to begin, and what the advantage in there is that the group decides on where the monies are invested for them.
Okay.
So it is not a fund that you receive and invest in the existing products of the company. Okay. So you will decide where the fund should be invested. So we call them investment clubs, and there are a number of them.
Okay. This is Saka Lee from Peduase. My question is, how do students like me still in university, still depending on our parents as a sole source of income with a solid business plan, acquire capital to start a business?
He must finish school first. He must finish school.
Saka.
Ashesi students they call themselves system thinkers. They are deep. And by the time they are done, I'm a mentor for Ashesi students as well. Okay. So I engage with them on a number of occasions. So they already have the entrepreneurship skills and ideas before they come out. And some of the projects they come out with, I would say are innovative products. So they are even able to attract capital once they are done. And he must know by now that anything you do, you must support it with a good business plan. So wherever he is in his career, he must begin to think through putting together a business plan to support his idea. But I'll tell him that, like I have said, it is good to dream, to start right after school. But you need some social capital, you need some network, you need to know people. You need to be able to know who to call to help you with what. And you do that when you engage in other environments and learn what has to be done. It's a nightmare going to the registrar general's department to even get your business registered. So how do you do that right after school? You gain all those experiences dealing with GRA, SNITs, and all that by working somewhere. So it's good to dream to start right after school, but it's also good, and it's even better to learn from someone before you branch out.
Okay. My name is Vincent from Wales. So, Doc, is it advisable to borrow from a bank and buy treasury bills for long term as a government worker?
No. Treasury bills is about 14% something, let's just say 15% now. You are going to borrow from the bank and it's more than 15%. So why do you borrow high and invest low? No, you don't do that.
Well, good afternoon. I want to thank the lady for this precious financial education. I am a freelance professional, married with 2 kids, 42 years old. I'm not in any pension plan. What form of investment would you recommend for me?
Okay. We can start with mutual funds, long-term mutual funds. We have some mutual funds that are projected beyond 3 years, and those are the types that you can invest in to prepare for pension. We also have a number of personal pension funds that are on the market that have been adored by pension administrators. You can also invest in that. If you have a lump sum or you can afford to contribute substantial amount on a monthly basis, then we can set up a personal retirement fund for you, and we manage that on your behalf. So you have the options.
Okay, someone wants your number, but Doc will decide at the end of the program if she would want to give her number out to you. People want free consultancy.
I know, right?
Doc, what are your most proud accomplishments since you started this journey?
I'm a Toastmaster.
What is that?
I'm a Toastmaster and I've become a storyteller. And I began writing. And it's refreshing. It's therapeutic for me. Toastmaster, it's an educational club. Let me just put it that simply, yes. That gives you the platform to improve on your communication skills and leadership skills. But for me, what it has done for me is to transform who I am. One thing we don't learn in school is public speaking. Pascaline, the fact that you can talk doesn't mean you are a speaker. And when we read stories or we read books by other accomplished authors, you realize that a number of successful people enroll in public speaking school right after graduation. But we don't do that. We take it that once you can speak, you can talk.
Yeah.
But that is not it. When you speak, you make an impact. You are either educating, you are inspiring, or you are motivating. So that's what Toastmasters does for you. And Toastmasters doesn't teach you to speak. It gives you the platform to practice speaking. It's a lived experience. So you are on stage working on projects and you have people who are listening to you, evaluating you, and giving you feedback. And it is through those feedback that you improve on your speaking. As I was coming, I called a number of my friends and told them, please, I'm speaking.
You're not talking, you're speaking.
My daughters are in Toastmasters, so they are in the Gaveliers Club, those who are 17 years and below. I've told them to watch me and give me feedback. So there are a number of things you learn on the stage as a Toastmaster. And I'm here today because of Toastmasters. It's as simple as that. I couldn't have done what I'm doing now 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So it is that awareness that you have something in you that you can begin to share to the world in a very beautiful way that carries the message along. So that is the greatest thing I would say has happened. Yes.
Did that inform your mentoring journey? Why did you decide?
It did. I mean, as a Toastmaster, you are mentored anyway, and at a certain level, you even have a coach. Okay, and that is something that we must all begin to identify. If you want to be transformed personally, you must surround yourself with relevant people who speak into your life, who guide you. And you must avail yourself to be guided as well. So I have a number of mentees. That's in Toastmasters, and I also have a number of mentees I'll call at church and also at Ashiasi as well. So because you also learn under a mentor, you acquire some skills that you can transfer onto others. So basically that is what has happened over the period.
There's a question here for you. Good evening, Dr. Puplampu. You make investment sound so fun. Should someone invest, say, 100,000 cedis for 5 years in a mutual fund, how much is he or she likely to get as dividend? Should I get your calculator?
When it comes to mutual funds, what we look more at, the concept there is returns on your investment. Typically, what we say is that over a period of 5 years, you should be able to double your capital. If you are looking at an average of 20% on an annual basis. But we have what we call the compounding effect. So because the funds are there and accruing returns on an annual basis, those also increase over the period. So I can confidently tell him that over 5 years, he should be able to double that money. So that is what the information I can share with him now.
Well, how do you become, this from a stay-home mother, how do you become financially independent when you are not working? But a stay-at-home mother, not by choice though, but the husband thinks it's wise for the case of the children.
I wrote an article recently titled "The Career Woman." I wish I could share it with your questioner at this moment. There should be something coming to this lady in forms of income. you are taking home, you are taking care of the home. There should be something coming to you on a monthly basis in one form or the other. If it's pocket money, if it's housekeeping money, there should be something coming to you that you can afford to put a little aside. When it comes to investments, it doesn't matter how much comes in, but it's that intentional effort to ensure that whatever comes your way, you are able to put something aside.
Small.
So even though she's not working, I want to believe that every now and then some form of income or money comes away that she can decide to put aside.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can call on 0260969160. You can phone in with your contribution, suggestion, and any other you want to add to this program. 0260969160. Doc, what would you do differently if you were given another chance?
I will expand on my network. As you grow, you will observe that the number of people you have in your life begin to reduce. So I make an intentional effort to expand on the people that I know. One thing I'll do differently is to avail myself more to people who can impact on my life. I am doing that now, but I wish I had started early. My largest group of friends are at the secondary school level.
Okay.
At the first degree, I have only 2 friends I can call friends. Okay. Second degree, none. Doctorate level, it's a different conversation. So as you begin to grow in your career and everything, the numbers of your connections begin to reduce. So if at a certain point in your life you don't make that intentional effort to expand on the people you know, people who can help you in one way or the other, then you have an issue. So that is one thing I'll do, to expand on my network very early in life.
Yeah. Are you a family person?
Absolutely. And my husband is a family man. I have 3 kids.
We have a caller on the line. Hold on. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Women's Voice. Your name and where you are calling from?
Abraham, calling for Amasamai.
I didn't hear that. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, I'm called Abraham.
Abraham, okay. Abraham, let's hear you.
Yes, the lady there made a comment. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, what I'm saying is that my lady there was saying after 5 years you need to double your how do you call your income. But here is the case. I have a business which the business after 5 years my income has not been doubled, but I know I've done a lot of property which is worth amount of the double of what he's talking about.
Well, maybe you have to repeat. Did you say we should increase our income or investment?
Abraham,
Thanks, Abraham.
What I said was that someone was asking about the expected returns on an amount of 100,000 over 5 years. And I'm saying that the general approach is that within 5 years, you should be able to double that money. So we can be looking at 200,000 at the end of the 5 years. And that's the assumptions that the portfolio is returning about 20%. But even that, within the years, there's what we call the compounding effect. Because you haven't taken your interest out on an annual basis, you are able to increase it at a faster rate.
I don't, maybe I'm trying to understand, Abraham. Let's say you earn 1,000 Ghana and you started saving 50 Ghana. And after 10 years, you are still earning 1,000 Ghana. How do you increase your savings to 100 Ghana?
Okay. You know, I made a reference to age and when you start investing. When you start very early, under 30 years, then you're able to do 10% of your income. But once you move out of 30, pushing 40 and above 40, you must begin to increase the proportion. Because your needs after retirement maybe more than what you are engaging in now. So as the years go by, you begin to understand what you need as you're approaching retirement. Because as you approach retirement, you need more liquidity at the time. So the advice there is, if you are young, you keep to the 10%, but as you keep growing, but when you start early, it becomes part of you. So it's not a big deal.
We were talking about your family.
Right? Yes. I have 3 kids. I have 3 kids. Whitney, I have Shiromi, and I have Placido. So 2 girls and a boy.
Wow.
And I have a very lovely husband. Wow.
I'm sure he's watching and blushing.
And well, he's a family man, so somehow we are very close. We are very tight. Yes.
What are your hobbies? I mean, are you able to have time for some pleasure anyway? Oh, we have a call on the line. I'm interested in that. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Your name?
Please, I'm calling from Accra, Newtown.
Okay, let's hear you.
Okay. Please, I just wanted to tell Dr. Aku Puplampu that we love your excellence in professionalism. We love her so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Pascaline, you should talk to my girlfriends. I'm a fun-loving person.
I know. So if I should ask your girlfriend who Suzy is, what do you think they would say?
They'll tell you Suzy loves life. I like to be happy at all time. You know, we need to learn to happy ourselves.
Yes.
Nobody will do that for you. So I know how to happy myself.
Life is short, Abby.
Too short. Pascaline, too short. So I'm a fun-loving person. I like to spend time with my friends. I have multiple groups of
In spite
friends.
of your busy schedule, how are you
I
able
make
to
time.
do that?
Look, anything you value, you make time for it. It's as simple as that. Anything you value, you make time for it. And I value my friends. And I keep telling them that I invest in them now so that when I'm 80 years, I can get out from my house and come and visit them. So I make time for my friends.
Do you work on weekends?
No, I don't. Not officially, but of course I have my laptop with
Yeah,
me,
so
so
you
I
work
can
from
work
home.
on any time and all that. So I engage a lot. I have a lot of after hours, you know, hang out with my friends and all that. So those are able to keep me going.
Okay, we'll talk about your hobbies. We have a caller on the line. Hello.
Hello.
Your name and where you are calling from?
That's not from my office.
Okay, is it this one? Okay, let's hear you.
Okay. I'm 63 and I've invested for my retirement in the insurance company for retirement. Is it good?
Yes.
Okay, Doc will answer you.
Yes, insurance is also a good product to consider, especially when it comes to wealth creation. In addition to investment, you have insurance product that can also support your needs when you grow, especially health insurance.
Okay.
Because as we grow old, we realize that there are a lot of ailment that comes up, especially when we come on retirement and all that. So what will support you beyond that is your health insurance. And one thing we also don't plan well is what we call the funeral insurance. We must think about transition. It will happen. When it happens, how do you want to handle it? How do you want to be handled? So we must plan for that. So there are things, these are things that we do for our high net worth clients, that we have what we call the wealth management product. So the whole relationship is not just about your funds. It's things beyond that. So there's insurance, there's real estate, there's alternative investments, there are collectibles, there are everything else that will help you to put together. So as you retire, you have something reasonable to live off.
Doc, you told me you like to walk.
I do,
And you
yes.
advised me to do the same. Apart from that, what are your other hobbies? What do you like to do?
I've been exercising for over 10 years now, and especially after my second daughter was born. Somehow I missed life. I wanted to get my energy back very quickly. So I started exercising. from there. I mean, back in Data Bank, they were very kind. They gave us the opportunity to join gyms after work and all that. So that was where I built the habit. But now I'm into more of outdoor exercise. So I walk.
You walk.
And I walk in the morning.
And you love listening to
music?
music?
I love music. I can listen to music 24 hours. It's in my car, it's in my bedroom, it's in my kitchen, it's in my office. It's the first thing I put on. I love music. And I love reading, and then I write as well.
We are hard pressed for time, but in 30 seconds, what advice do you have for young ladies who aspire to be like you?
Be focused. And surround yourself with relevant people. And know what you want to be or do by a certain time. You must set milestones for yourself. I wanted to be married at 30, and it happened. I wanted my doctorate at 40. I didn't get it, but I started. So you must have specific milestones in your life and open up and let people support you in your growth.
So you heard it all. Be focused and surround yourself with relevant people. This is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Women's Voice. We're live on GBC News and also streamed live on Facebook at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. My guest, CEO of OctaneDC Limited, finance and investment professional, Dr. Suzy Aku Puplampu. My name is Pascaline Adadevoh. See you next week.